government employed restricted immigration policies to keep Jewish refugees out of Canada. This shameful history was the result of deep-seated anti-Semitism, often called the longest hatred, coupled with complex economic, political, and social factors. It was the Depression. Hunger, the search for paid labor, and lack of opportunity fueled intolerance. Anti-Semitism swelled in various locales across Canada. Toronto, 1933. In Christie Pitts Park, hundreds of rioters battled for 6 hours after a predominantly Jewish baseball team was incited to violence by a pro-Nazi group called the Swastika Club. In Montreal, the well-organized Parti National Social Chrétien, led by Adrien Arcand, modeled itself after the Nazi Party of Germany. Arcand admired Hitler's ambition for a rebirth of Germany and hoped to establish a fascist state in Canada. He promoted rallies and boycotts against Jews and spread hate propaganda throughout Quebec. The Premier of British Columbia, Thomas Dufferin Petulo, declared in 1939 that his province would accept refugees, but not Jews. Signs for vacation spots declared, "No Jews allowed." In Manitoba in the 1940s, Jews were discouraged from visiting Victoria Beach, a popular summer retreat for the wealthy elite. As persecution of Jews under Nazi occupation intensified throughout the 1930s, it was clear that in Canada, there was little political will for the country to admit Jewish refugees seeking safety. In 1938, Prime Minister Mackenzie King wrote, "A very difficult question has presented itself in Roosevelt's appeal to different countries to unite with the United States in admitting refugees from Austria and Germany. That means, in a word, admitting numbers of Jews. My own feeling is that nothing is to be gained by creating an internal problem in an effort to meet an international one." King's attitude was a reflection of an anti-Semitism that permeated many layers of Canadian society. Not all Canadians were silent. Many voices were raised in protest. Georges Vanier, ambassador to France and later Governor General, was tireless in lobbying the government to take action on refugees. John Defoe used his power as editor of the Winnipeg Free Press to denounce Hitler and anti-Semitism from 1933 onward. In his most famous editorial, "What's the Cheering For?", Defoe denounced the Munich Agreement of 1938, signed by Germany, the United Kingdom, France, and Italy. This agreement was meant to appease Germany in the hopes of avoiding war. British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain assured the world that the Munich Agreement meant peace for our time. Defoe, despite criticism and being branded a pessimist by his readership, made his opinions known. A national committee added its voice to the fight, as did Jewish members of parliament. The clouds of war began to gather in 1938. World leaders met in Evian, France, to devise a plan to deal with the many Jewish women, men, and children fleeing Nazi persecution. Hitler stated about the Evian conference, "I can only hope and expect that the other world, which has such deep sympathy for these criminals, will at least be generous enough to convert this sympathy into practical aid. We, on our part, are ready to put all of these criminals at the disposal of these countries. For all I care, even on luxury ships." The intentions of the Evian conference yielded no results. Participating nations were hesitant to accept these migrants within their own borders. No country, except the tiny Dominican Republic, permitted more than a token increase in Jewish refugees. This failure to act would ultimately have brutal consequences. Then, only mere months after Evian, Kristallnacht, Night of Broken Glass. Throughout Germany, Nazis and their supporters destroyed Jewish property and spread terror among the Jews. Desperate to help in the aftermath, the Canadian Jewish Congress offered financial guarantees on behalf of Jews trying to flee persecution. They hoped Canada would immediately accept 10,000 refugees. But across the country, coast to coast, the stain of anti-Semitism remained. Frederick Charles Blair, a career bureaucrat and fervent anti-Semite, was Canada's Director of Immigration at the time. In a letter to Prime Minister Mackenzie King, Blair wrote, "Pressure by Jewish people to get into Canada has never been greater than it is now, and I'm glad to be able to add that after 35 years of experience here, that it has never been so carefully controlled. The line must be drawn somewhere in a nation of immigrants." Canadian immigration policies privileged groups that the government thought better able to perform specific jobs deemed necessary for the development of a young nation. At that time, Canada wanted to promote agriculture. Its immigration policies favored newcomers who were farmers and excluded many others who were not seen as suitable for agricultural work. Blair wrote, "I am not finding fault with the Jew because he does not farm. But on the other hand, it need not surprise these people that a country, which since Confederation has encouraged the immigration of the agricultural class, should favor other races than those who never or seldom farm." Despite this atmosphere of anti-Semitism in Canada, 17,000 Canadian Jews answered the call to join the war effort against Germany, risking their lives to fight the Nazis after the Second World War began in 1939. Persecution of Jews in Germany had continued to increase in the months leading up to the war, resulting in one of the most shameful of many tragic episodes: the voyage of the St. Louis. May 1939 granted permission to leave Germany 937 hopeful and relieved refugees, almost all Jews trying to flee Nazi Germany, embarked on a German steamer, the St. Louis, for a new life in Cuba. Excited and triumphant, though many had to leave family behind, they lined the rails of the ship as it approached Havana Harbor. Banners flew, and vessels steamed out to greet them. Without any warning, their visas were revoked. They were denied entry into Cuba and had to leave at once.